Because Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are to hold their first summit in the Finnish capital, Helsinki. The US president and his Russian counterpart have set the date for July the 12th for their meeting. That deal was reached after a visit to Moscow by the US National Security Advisor John Bolton. Trump will meet Putin after attending a summit of NATO leaders and a trip to Britain. It also gives Putin a chance to attend the World Cup closing ceremony. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by our correspondent, Alistair Stanford in the studio. Alistair, why Helsinki?
Well, Helsinki obviously has echoes of the past. It was the venue for the signing of the Helsinki Accords back in 1975 when former US President Gerald Ford met the Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev, and their agreement led to a period of what was known as détente, as relations thawed between East and West. Then, as the Cold War ended in 1990, former President Bush met with Mikhail Gorbachev, and a few years later, Bill Clinton met with Boris Yeltsin. So it's clearly symbolic. This will be the first formal meeting between Presidents Trump and Putin, and it comes at a time when relations between Russia and the West are at their worst since the Cold War. There are tensions, of course, over Russia's role in Syria and Ukraine, not to mention the Baltics. Now, the Finnish president has said that anything that can ease tensions is in everyone's interests, but there are nerves, of course, that Donald Trump may compromise this hard stance of the West towards Russia. So Helsinki is a symbolic venue. It's on neutral territory because Finland is not part of NATO, and it's a very practical venue because Donald Trump will already be in Europe. And President Putin, of course, will be at the World Cup final in Russia just the day before.
The very fact that this summit is taking place is fairly controversial. How's that going down with allies, both on the European and on the US side? Well,
it'll come just after the NATO summit. And of course, the fear is that Donald Trump is perhaps going to upstage NATO over this. NATO's official response is that this is in line with their policy of dialogue with Russia. Nevertheless, diplomats are reported to be uneasy over it. Trump, of course, has been critical of NATO, of the contributions of NATO members, and there are fears that he may make concessions towards Vladimir Putin. US politicians on both sides are slightly uneasy about this, saying that this could be a gift to the Kremlin. One senator said, "Are we going to let Putin walk all over us?" Moscow is delighted, but both sides are playing down any talk of a breakthrough here. But of course, it comes amid all this ambiguity over American-Russian relations. Yes, there are differences. And of course, all these allegations of Russian interference in the US presidential election. But Donald Trump has again, with a tweet just yesterday, cast doubt on that. And so the big question is he going to do what he did with the G7? When we saw him call for Russia to be readmitted, and there he was all antagonistic with his Western allies, before then cozying up to a North Korean dictator. Are we going to see the same with NATO and then with his meeting with Putin?
And I suspect if it's Trump, it's always unpredictable. Alistair Stanford, thank you very much.